All right, so get ready, because today we are going to ditch those old dusty business plans and dive headfirst into the Lean Startup by Eric Ries.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's all about navigating the unknown, which is perfect for all of our listeners out there since you're launching a new product line or leading a team initiative.
Yeah. You know what's so refreshing about the Lean Startup is that it just throws out the window this whole idea that you need like a perfect plan from day one.
Totally.
Like I said, it's all about embracing the fact that we often start with a whole bunch of assumptions.
Right.
And the key is to just test those assumptions as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this book so relevant. Yeah. Regardless of whether you're building a startup from scratch or like trying to innovate within a massive company.
Right.
Speaking of which, Eric uses this great example of Mark, an entrepreneur at HP who wanted to shake things up.
Oh yeah, Mark's story is perfect.
Yeah.
Like a perfect example of how the Lean Startup can apply.
Totally.
Even in the most traditional corporate settings.
Yeah.
Here, he was like passionate about reviving HP's community service efforts. Had this dedicated team, but was hitting a wall.
Yeah.
Because he was stuck in a system that wasn't built for rapid innovation.
And that's where the beauty of the Lean Startup comes in, right?
Totally.
It gives you this framework to test your ideas, get feedback, and adapt.
Right.
It's almost like turning the traditional business plan process on its head.
Exactly.
That completely.
Instead of spending months crafting this detailed plan based on assumptions, you're encouraged to just jump right in with a minimum viable product or MVP.
MVPs.
To test your riskiest assumptions first.
This is where things get really interesting. For those who haven't heard the term, imagine stripping down your idea to its bare bones. The absolute minimum you need to get it in front of real users. And start learning.
It's about finding the fastest, cheapest way to test whether your idea actually solves a problem people care about.
I like that.
Think about Groupon.
Oh, okay.
They didn't start with a fancy app or website. They tested their idea. With handmade PDFs offering pizza coupons.
Really?
Seriously, they were printing those out.
Wow.
It's a great example of how you don't need a perfect product to start gaining traction.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes we get so caught up in the details and the polish that we forget the whole point is to learn what works.
Totally.
Which brings us to validated learning.
Yes.
One of the core principles of the Lean Startup.
One of the most important.
Instead of getting caught up in vanity metrics like downloads or website hits, it's about constantly asking, are we actually creating something people truly value?
And that can be tough, right?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get excited about those flashy numbers.
Totally.
But Eric makes this really important distinction. Between building something people want versus building something they're just curious about.
Interesting.
He uses the example of IMVU, his own company.
Okay.
They initially thought they were building an avatar add-on for instant messengers.
Right.
But it turns out their users wanted something completely different.
Didn't people go crazy for those IMVU avatars back in the day?
They did.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
IMVU thought they were onto something. By letting people create these cool avatars for AIM or Yahoo Messenger.
Right.
But their users didn't actually want to just add them to their existing chats.
Interesting.
They craved a standalone IM network where they could connect with new people based on shared interests.
Okay.
It was a total light bulb moment for IMVU.
Yeah.
And a perfect example of why validated learning is so crucial.
So even with a product that seemed like a hit,
they had to really dig deep
and
understand what was driving their users' behavior.
Right.
It wasn't just about building cool features. It was about solving a real problem.
And that's where innovation accounting comes in.
Okay.
It's about ditching those vanity metrics.
Right.
And focusing on the data that actually tells you if you're moving in the right direction.
I like it.
Eric tells the story of Grocket.
Okay.
An online test prep company who thought they were killing it.
Right.
Based on the sheer number of users and questions answered.
I'm scenting a butt coming.
You got it.
Okay.
When they really dug into the data, they realized that user engagement and retention were actually pretty low.
Oh.
People were trying out the platform, but they weren't sticking around. It was a wake-up call.
Yeah.
that force them to shift their focus from building features to improving their customer acquisition strategy.
So even if you're seeing some initial success,
you have to constantly be asking, are we measuring the right things? Are we building something people truly value and will come back to?
Exactly. And sometimes that means you have to pivot.
Okay, pivoting.
Yeah.
This is where it can get scary, right?
For sure.
Because it often means admitting you were wrong about something. But in the lean startup, pivoting isn't seen as failure.
Right.
It's seen as adapting to what you're learning.
Exactly. Think of it like this.
Okay.
Imagine you're hiking and realize you're on the wrong trail.
Yeah.
You don't just keep going right.
No.
You adjust your course based on what you've learned.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And you've got this awesome example of Vodison.
Oh, yeah.
A civic engagement platform that went through multiple pivots before they found their sweet spot.
Vodison's journey is a perfect illustration of how pivoting can lead to breakthrough success.
Totally.
They started as a social network for verified voters.
Okay.
But their growth was sputtering. Oh. Through a series of experiments and pivots, they eventually realized their real value was in connecting political activists with like-minded voters. A huge shift from their original vision.
Wow.
But one that was driven by data and customer insights.
You know what's striking me as we're talking about all this?
Yeah.
Is how connected everything is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this cycle. You start with an idea, build an MVP to test it, measure what matters, and then you're ready to pivot if you need to. Always keeping validated learning at the forefront.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's a continuous loop of build, measure, learn.
I like it.
And it all ties back to this idea of working in small batches.
Okay.
Just like Toyota's approach to car manufacturing.
Interesting.
It's fascinating how those principles behind Toyota's production line can be applied to something as dynamic as a startup.
Yeah.
Just like Toyota revolutionized car manufacturing by using small batches to catch problems early on. Startups can benefit tremendously from breaking their work into smaller, more manageable chunks.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Smaller batches mean faster feedback.
Right.
Quicker identification of problems and the flexibility to adapt as you go. It's like those agile methodologies that are all the rage in software development these days.
Exactly. And it's not just about the product itself.
Right.
It's about building an entire organization that's designed to learn and adapt.
So it's about creating a culture of experimentation.
Yeah.
Where failure is seen as a learning opportunity rather than something to be feared. That probably requires a pretty big shift in mindset, especially for companies used to doing things a certain way.
Absolutely. And one of the tools Eric suggests for cultivating this culture is the 5 whys technique, borrowed from Toyota. It's deceptively simple, but incredibly powerful for problem solving.
The 5 whys.
Yeah.
Remind me how that works again.
It's all about getting to the root cause of a problem.
Yeah.
Not just treating the symptoms.
Right.
You keep asking why.
Okay.
Ideally 5 times.
Got it.
To peel back the layers and uncover the underlying issue.
Okay.
Remember that example Eric shared from IMVU? Where a server failure actually revealed a deeper problem with employee training.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What initially looked like a technical glitch turned out to be a symptom of a much bigger issue within the organization.
Totally.
It's like if you only fix the server but don't address the training gap, you're just setting yourself up for more failures down the road.
Precisely. The 5 whys help you get to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
So you can implement a more effective and lasting solution.
Okay.
And it goes beyond just fixing problems. It's about using each setback as an opportunity to learn and improve the entire system.
So it's not just about putting out fires. It's about building a more resilient and adaptable organization.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together, building in small batches, embracing the 5 whys, fostering a culture of learning.
Right.
It's all part of creating this adaptive organization Eric talks about.
You've got it. It's about moving away from rigid hierarchies and embracing a more dynamic, responsive way of working.
And that's not just for startups, you know?
Right.
This applies to established companies as well.
Oh, definitely. In fact, I was going to ask about that.
Oh, okay.
The lean startup focuses a lot on the early stages of a company.
Yeah.
But what happens when you've found some success?
Right.
You've got a product people love. And you need to figure out how to sustain that growth.
That's where the concept of managing the innovation portfolio becomes crucial.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about strategically balancing different types of innovation within a company to ensure both short-term success and long-term sustainability.
So even when you've got a winning product,
right,
you can't just rest on your laurels. You need to keep thinking about the future and exploring new opportunities.
Exactly. And Eric provides this really useful framework for thinking about different types of innovation.
Okay.
There's sustaining innovation, which focuses on improving existing products and services for your existing customer base.
So that's like making your current product even better, adding new features, or expanding into new markets with the same product.
Yeah.
Trying to stay ahead of the competition and keep your current customers happy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then you have disruptive innovation.
Right.
Which targets new customers with new products or services that might not initially be as good as existing offerings.
Okay.
But have the potential to shake up the entire market over time.
And I'm guessing those two types of innovation require very different approaches, right?
Absolutely. Sustaining innovation often relies on traditional management practices, market research, and incremental improvements.
Right.
But disruptive innovation, because it's venturing into uncharted territory, requires a more experimental, lean startup approach.
Sure, that makes sense with disruptive innovation. There's so much more uncertainty. You don't even know for sure if there's even a market for your product yet.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to have a system for managing this portfolio of innovation.
Okay.
You need to allocate resources wisely, protect those disruptive innovation teams from the constraints of the core business, and be prepared to let go of ideas that aren't working out.
It's about having a balance, right?
Yeah.
A mix of projects at different stages of development and risk. Not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that even successful companies need to keep innovating.
Yeah.
Keep adapting to stay ahead of the curve.
Makes sense.
And remember, disruption can come from anywhere. And it often comes from the most unexpected places.
Yeah, it really makes you realize that no company, no matter how successful, can afford to stand still.
Right.
The world is changing too fast. And the companies that thrive are the ones that embrace this constant evolution.
Absolutely. And it's not just about companies. You know, like the lean startup principles can be applied to all sorts of things, from personal projects to nonprofits to movements for social change.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's about fostering that spirit of experimentation and adaptation wherever you are.
Yeah, this book has really gotten me thinking about how I approach my own work, even outside of like my role here.
Right.
I'm wondering, for anyone listening who's feeling inspired and wants to put these ideas into practice, what's the first step? Where do they start?
You know, it all comes back to those core principles we've been talking about.
Okay.
Instead of getting bogged down in planning or waiting for the perfect moment.
Yeah.
The key is to just get started.
Just do it.
Take that first step, even if it's a small one.
So rather than spending months on a detailed business plan, you're saying it's better to jump in and build a minimum viable product, something you can test and learn from quickly.
Exactly. Remember, the goal of an MVP isn't to create a polished, finished product.
Right.
It's about getting something out there as quickly as possible to validate your assumptions and start gathering real-world feedback.
And I think that's a big mental shift for a lot of people, myself included.
Right.
We're so conditioned to strive for perfection, to avoid failure at all costs.
Yeah.
But the lean startup encourages us to embrace failure as a necessary part of the learning process.
You've got it's about shifting from a fear of failure to a love of learning.
I like that.
Every setback, every experiment that doesn't go as planned is an opportunity to gather valuable data and refine your approach.
It's like that saying, fail fast, fail often.
Right.
But maybe a more accurate version would be learn fast, learn often.
I love that reframe.
It's not about celebrating failure for its own sake.
Right.
It's about recognizing its value in helping us get closer to success.
And remember, innovation doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing.
Okay.
It can be as simple as trying a new approach to a problem, tweaking a process, or experimenting with a new way of communicating with your team.
So really, anyone can be an innovator.
Yes.
Regardless of their job title or industry.
Exactly.
It's all about cultivating that mindset of experimentation and being open to new ideas.
Absolutely. It's about challenging the status quo,
right?
Asking why things are done a certain way, and being willing to try something different.
Yeah.
And that's what's so empowering about the lean startup.
Right.
It gives you a framework, a set of tools to help you become a more effective innovator.
It's like a roadmap for navigating the uncertainty of building something new.
Yeah.
Whether it's a product, a service,
or
even a new way of working.
Exactly. It's about embracing the unknown.
Yeah.
Experimenting constantly and learning from every step along the way.
Okay.
It's about building the future one experiment at a time.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the lean startup.
It has been.
I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for approaching challenges and pursuing new ideas.
It's such a thought-provoking book, packed with actionable advice.
Yeah.
What really resonated with me is how it reframes our relationship with uncertainty.
Right.
Instead of fearing the unknown, we can learn to embrace it as a source of opportunity.
That's a great takeaway.
It is.
It's not about having all the answers up front. It's about having the courage to experiment, learn and adapt as you go.
Exactly. And that's something we can all do, no matter where we are in our careers or lives.
Yeah.
The lean startup empowers us to embrace change, challenge assumptions, and build the future we want to see.
That's it for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.